Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harpin and Rugby podcast. Joining me this week is someone back for cap number 42. He runs the excellent Post to Post sport blog. Welcome back to Mr. Kieran Duffy.
Yeah, glad to be back. I'm feel like I'm being used while the big guns are being saved for the Six Nations now in this run up to games. I'm one of the. We used to call it the Reese Ruddock All Stars. Maybe it's the Max Deegan All Stars now for Leinster. Maybe it's the Kieran Duffy All Stars. But
We can
glad to be
definitely
back
go
on
with that.
Harping
That
On.
definitely has a good ring to it, and it's
Yeah,
always good to have you on. Last had you on for the win down in Thomond Park, so I think that was a pretty
that was a
pretty
big one.
pretty
Yeah.
pretty pretty big win, I'd say. Okay, well listen, let's turn our attention to that feature match of the week, and here is a generic 80-word summary of how things went. Leinster spoiled Connacht's big night at the Dexcom Stadium with a 34-23 bonus point win. Early tries from Finton Gunn and strong Connacht mauling kept the first half tight, but the hosts led 2013 after Harry West score. Leinster responded to Arhe Snyman and a powerful Charlie Tector finish to reclaim control. Kieran Frawley sealed the bonus point late on after sustained pressure. Despite Connacht's scrum success and defensive energy, Leinster's accuracy and impact runners proved decisive. Now, obviously, we're going to go to a little bit more detail than that. And for this week, Kieran, I'd like to ask you about this run of wins Leinster are on. It's certainly not the first time we've won 10 in a row, but it certainly is rare for us to have won so many in the manner we have. I mean, I just want to quickly go through the results since that Munster's win at Croke Park. We had Zebra. Now, they were never ahead, but it was 26-21 after 36 minutes we were winning, and Zebra ended up getting the bonus point. Then it was the Dragons. We were losing at halftime there, 5-7. Harlequins, it was 21 all after 51 minutes, and Quins did get the bonus point, so we had to forge ahead for that one. Then we were losing at halftime against Leicester. We were losing at halftime against Ulster. Munster, you can call Thomond Park. You can call that an exception. We led throughout there and held them to just 8 points. But then Connacht, we were losing 12-17 after 37 minutes. La Rochelle, we all know we were losing in the 79th minute there. Bayonne, we were losing 10-3 at halftime, and then at Connacht. Just on Saturday, we were losing 20-13 after 48 minutes. Now, just using this latest match in Galway, I suppose, as a guide. I mean, is this pattern of comebacks, is it a good sign for Leinster, or is it a bad one?
Ultimately, the fact that we're winning games is good. And, I put up a joke, consistently about how Leinster barely even won, but we are winning. On my Blue Sky and Post Post Sport, we are winning games. So I think that's crucial. Earlier in the season, we obviously had that first kind of three losses in four games. Look, we were abysmal against Stormers away, Bulls. Probably a little bit unlucky not to get something more, but again, there were plenty of errors. We couldn't say we were on for the victory. And Munster, look, we were really poor, and Munster were very good. So, like, we deserved to lose that one. Munster deserved to win it, no argument about it. Yeah, look, we haven't been great over these past few wins. I think there's a few different things that have come up now. There's the fatigue for the players. We obviously had a lot of players, a lot of fringe players even at the Lions, like the likes of Thomas Clarkson and Jamie Osborne, who probably wouldn't have been expected to go into the Lions. We've had a lot of players on international duty, just a lot of just not being able to use our full squad when we wanted to. But at the same time, you look at that's Connacht away in their new stadium. They were very up for that game. They were very good for, I would say, 60 minutes of that game. And if they had still been ahead, they probably would have, won that game. If Leinster weren't ahead, weren't pushing ahead in that hour mark, they probably would have. Connacht probably would have held on in that game, but like you get to look at it as a good thing in that we are winning games. When it comes to, I always look at after the Six Nations as kind of the business end. You've talked before about how it's the European season's a bit funny in that you kind of have two competitions going on and they have to take a break for the Six Nations, and ideally you just have the league. Ideally, you just have the league, the Six Nations, the Champions Cup in their own blocks, which may never happen. But I think something that's good about, we're winning for now, and that's grand. And we got a bonus point against Connacht. We're keeping things ticking over. We're climbing up the table. I I think those first three games kind of still leave a bad. Those first three losses in four games still leave a bad taste in our mouth. Where we think, oh, it's a terrible season. We've already lost three games. I think we lost three games the whole of last season, and one of those was the European Cup semi-final that we don't talk about. But like we have. The fact that it was a bad start, I think, makes the season look worse. But at the end of the day, it's 10 wins in a row coming from behind. I think you look at the time We look back to Munster winning the URC a few years ago. They were terrible at the start of the season. They were terrible in the first half. They actually, I think, if I remember correctly, they looked like they were going to miss out on the playoffs entirely at some point, and then they came back. I think they finished fifth in the end. I know they had to win all their games away from home. They beat Glasgow, they beat us. The European Cup final fell at a good time because they had a week to travel down to South Africa, and they beat a difficult Stormers team to play against away from home. And if we did the same here, I think that's all you'd remember. It really depends on the result of the season. If we win a trophy, if we win the European Cup, if we win our Champions Cup as it is now, or if we win the URC, I think we'll be talking about this great Leinster grinding out wins, so much character, so much all this. If we get knocked out in the quarterfinals of both competitions, then then it's a poor season. So I think that's the reality of Leinster rugby, that a lot of it depends on whether you win a trophy. It did show a lot of character in the way we came back. We grinded out that we should have lost that game, realistically. And if you're winning games, you should lose. That's what they say the mark of a good team is, you kind of win games when you're not playing particularly well. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a bad thing ultimately if we don't win anything at the end of the season. It's going to be very scrutinised, but I don't think it's a bad thing for now that we're winning games and without being particularly good.
Yeah, I mean, like this time last year, we were literally winning every week. And we were saying the same thing. Well, we've won every game, and nothing's been proven until we get to the knockouts. And and as it turned out, it just took one knockout game to really drive a nail through the coffin of our season, so to speak. I mean, we did bounce back after that, but we definitely, it just takes one game. Well, one bad game in April and May, and to really throw a spanner in the works. So I suppose it really doesn't matter in a way, what way you're playing, so long as you, like you say, you're getting the wins. I suppose it's just the manner in which we're doing it. Uh, More often than not, it's been a case of, and this Connacht game was an example. It was just a question of the attack not getting going from the kickoff. This is something Leinster have been used to. I remember throughout the years, how I don't for lost count of how many times it's been a big occasion. Leinster probably at the home game, RDS Aviva, and we're playing a team that we're expected to win against, but the other team always scores first. They might have come with the game plan and done really well, maybe won a penalty in the first few minutes and then popped it over. It's 3-0 to them, or maybe get an early try. And it's like, oh no, like what's happened? But then you say, well, Leinster haven't had the ball yet. And when Leinster do have the ball and we start attacking and getting into our rhythm, that's when we turn things around and we would more often than not win. But what's happening now is we're our game plan going into the game tends not to be working. There's a couple of exceptions to that. We got an early try against Munster. We got early tries against La Rochelle. But in general, it's a case of the we come out of these games talking about how the attacks keep breaking down. There's knock-ons. We end up in situations where sort of aimless kicks. There was one situation where Harry Byrne just literally just seemed to run out of ideas, and he went to just quickly make a decision and put a kick into the 22 that was easily marked. And that's just not what we've come to expect from Leinster. And when you look at the back three we had James Lowe and Joshua Kenny and Kieran Frawley. Now, Kieran Frawley, at halftime, you barely know he was on the pitch. You might think he was hiding from his future employers, maybe, but seriously though, we didn't seem to have an ability to get the players to make something happen into the game. And we weren't. Charlie Tector, even at 12, wasn't getting strong runs. There was nothing really happening. So we're kind of unsure where the scores were coming from. We were almost relying on maybe Connacht giving us opportunities to get close opportunities near to the line. So that is a kind of a negative pattern over the line. You certainly don't want to be doing that against Bordeaux. You don't want to be doing that against Toulouse or even Northampton. Those bigger teams at the business end of the season. That's for sure. So that's a negative. But I think overall you do have to spin it. I've said this before on the pod. I think Jacques Nienaber's come in, and basically these kind of wins are his trademark. These scrappy wins, and La Rochelle is a classic example. Somehow, I mean, you look at some of those South Africa wins, Springbok wins over the years, and you go, how the hell did they win that? Because it'd be a scrap from start to finish, but then somehow, if it's a 1 point game, they're on the right side of it. And he's kind of bringing that grit into the team that are able to get together on the pitch and get it done.